Welcome back to Homeschooled Podcast. It's me, Agostino Zoida, and I'm back. I'm back here on the Homeschooled Podcast. We're doing it again. I'm sorry about the delay. It's been a little while since I put an episode out. We're a little behind on that, but we're back. We're back down in the original Homeschooled Podcast studio, down in the garage with the little red curtain. Got my little chair here. Still dealing with the same shit we're always dealing with the internet not working, Zoom not working, but we do what we can. You see what I gotta deal with, people. You see what you guys are like, hey, how come it's been like a week and you haven't posted a podcast yet, man? It's a constant battle of uphill battle of obstacles with everything that you do, that's gonna go into our topic today. Not complaining about how hard it is to podcast or Zoom or anything like that, but just the obstacles and battles and there's no easy path. Even when you've gotten to some success, there's still even more obstacles along the way. But anyway, again, sorry about the delay. It's been like a week, but here we are, Homeschool Podcast, solo, no guests, no co-host. It's just me and you, and that's because I got some things I'm going to talk to you guys about. And first of all, let's get this out of the way. If you guys want to see me live, I've been touring a lot. That's part of the reason that I've late on this. I've been just constantly on the road. I've been gone for 11 days on the road, and I'm finally home. And so I'm touring. Here's what I got for you guys coming up. I will be in Phoenix, Arizona, June 22nd through the 25th at the House of Comedy, which is right on the cusp of Phoenix and Scottsdale. I'm excited. It's one of my favorite clubs to play in the country. I've actually never headlined it before. It's my first time headlining it. I've headlined the other House of Comedies, but for some reason, never this one. I've always featured at it a lot. It was my first introduction to House of Comedies was this Phoenix one. It's just a great club. Love performing there. And I've when they started headlining me at all their clubs, I was anticipating waiting till they gave me this one. They finally did. Originally, I was supposed to do it in August. So if you guys saw my calendar like a month ago, I was supposed to be in Phoenix in August, but they moved me up. Hey, there you go. There's something that's moving up in the world. So I moved up to June 22nd through the 25th. I hope to see you guys there. And then some local shows this week. This Saturday night, I'm performing in my hometown, Sherman, California, and just doing a little show there with some great comics. And then next week I'm doing West Hollywood at the Hamburger Mary's, working on some shit over there. And so that's the stuff if you're local. You can get tickets for all these shows, including the Phoenix show that I was mentioning, including all of my tour dates that I have coming up at homeschooled.pod.com or augustinocomedian.com. Click on tour. And that's what I got for you in June. But I'm just like on tour the whole summer. So I just got back from Memphis. By the way, anybody that came out to the show in Memphis, I just want to give a big thank you. I had a blast at those shows. I was working with my buddy Nick Galarza. We're going to have him on soon. He did great. Just had a great time headlining those shows. And we'll talk about it a little bit more. But also, I spent the last week in Vegas at the LA Comedy Club inside the Stratosphere Hotel and Casino. If I met you at one of those 7 shows I did, thank you very much for coming out to the show. And I was glad to meet you. And I hope to see you guys at an upcoming show. Like I said, I got Phoenix at the end of the month. In July, I got a bunch of stuff. In July, I've got like Vancouver, Canada, and then I got Minneapolis, doing the Mall of America. So it's a jam-packed summer. Right now, Florida is in the works for August. I got some stuff in October, September. I'm doing Edmonton, Canada for New Year's Eve. I got a lot of stuff coming at you guys. Just make sure you keep on me. AugustinoComedian.com/tour. That's where you get tickets and see all my tour dates. And make sure, sometimes there's last minute changes like this. So make sure that you're following me on social media. Instagram is Agostino Comedian. Instagram is Agostino Zoida. TikTok is Agostino Comedian. And I appreciate the love and follows on there. But for now, that's it. That's all the promo I'm going to tell you. Let's get into the episode. We'll start with Memphis. All right. So I know a lot of up-and-coming comedians or current comedians listen to this. Homeschooled has kind of turned into, just like a comedy podcast for entertainment, but for comics and for artists and just advice and things like that. So let's start with Memphis. Memphis was great. What a fucking town. What a cool town. I think that everybody should go to Memphis at least once in their life. My buddy Nick was I was working with, I think described it the perfect way. He said that that Memphis is like the upside down of Nashville, which is hilarious, but it's really true. You got to go down to Beale Street. I mean, after dark, it's off the. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know disrespect to Memphis. I could never live there. It's just not a place I could live. But it's definitely a place that's fun to visit and to perform in. And there's so much history there from artists, musicians, and I mean, I'm performing like down the street from Sun Records, like the first place Elvis recorded an album. You know, it's just that there's so much history there from great artists like B.B. King's, you know, the place he used to perform at on the streets. And one of my favorite parts about the Elvis movie, I know it's got some mixed reviews, but when the Elvis movie gets good for me is like when they show that scene of them trying to hold him back and tell him not to wiggle, and they tell him if you so much as shake your pinky, and then he gets on stage and he just shakes his pinky. You know, that part for me is like, as an artist, as a comedian, it's like people are always trying to tell us that, you know, we should be a certain way or act a certain way, or being this type of comic will get you booked more. At the end of the day, I got mad respect for comedians and artists that keep to who they are as an artist. And I mean, prior to that scene is the one where, you know, he's sick of it, of the things people are telling him to do, and he gets in an argument with his family, and he just runs out of the house and he drives to Beale Street, and he goes and he meets like B.B. King and Little Richard, and they're all playing just at like these bar shows, you know. And that's the street where I was like walking around and I was performing, and I was just thinking about that scene, how those guys are just jamming, man. Like, and no matter how big they got or how legendary they were or how good they were just still in bar shows. And it didn't matter if it was a theater or, you know, a sold out, you know, county fair or whatever it was. It's like these guys were giving 120% into their performance, like they're playing a sold out arena, in like some bar shows where it's just fucking good people drinking and have a good time and just jamming, you know. And that really inspires me as a comedian. So it was a great time in Memphis. We did 2 shows. The first show was sold out, so we had to add a second one. The second one was not sold out, but still just as much fun. I got to play around a little bit more, but that first show crowd, I got some good footage out of it. It just, like, I think that the artist in me really came out. The headliner in me really came out. I got to give them the show that I wanted to give them overall, all around, from the jazz band that opened, from the first comic that went up, from my buddy Nick that went right before me. Just all around, I think that we really gave him an entertaining show and represented LA comedy as well as just universal comedy and just universal entertainment, which is always my goal for shows. It's not just to give you, you know, one guy, one mic, one stage, one spotlight, which at the end of the day, that's what it is. So it's to go beyond those boundaries, because that's all it is. That's all stand-up is a guy and a microphone. But to keep that tradition, but also go even further with it, that's what makes a good entertainer. That's what makes a good headliner. But overall show, you know, just getting creative, and I love not having boundaries on creativity ever. So that's the deal. And then Vegas. All right, so here's what I want to talk about with Vegas, you guys. I did 7 shows. 7 of them went great, but one of them, even though I think it went great and the audience loved it, one of them I personally think was my least favorite show. It was my least favorite set, and honestly, in my own personal opinion, because, you know, us artists, we are our own worst critics. It was probably my worst set that I've had in months, maybe the year, even though the audience reacted, you know, they laughed and everything, but I knew that I wasn't giving my best. Like, I knew that I was in my head, number one, the whole time, thinking about people that were there, what they were thinking about comics that were there, what were they thinking about watching me on stage and what I was doing, even thinking about the fact that I was thinking about the fact that I was in my head, literally having those thoughts on stage. That's where you failed. That's where you failed already. If you literally find yourself thinking on stage. I give this example a lot as people say, like, when are you in your head, or what does it feel like as a live performer to be in your head rather than in the moment? And it feels like, and it's the only way I can describe it, is it feels like you're not in the room, you're outside the room looking through a window, and you can actually see yourself on stage performing. And if that's what it feels like, you've failed. Not necessarily failed to the point where you can't recover, but that's like a bad sign, and you could still turn it around at that point. You got to shake it off. You got to get it out of your head. You got to get in the moment. And I'll tell you some of the issues and doubts that I had in Vegas. So here's what it was. So when you do Vegas, you're doing the week. It's Monday through Sunday. It's 7 shows. It's 1 show a night, which is nice. It's nice that there's 1 show a night. You know, usually when you do the weekends, you're doing 5 shows in you're doing, let's see, Thursday, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 1 Saturday. You're doing 6 shows in 4 nights. So this you're doing 7 and 7. It's a long week to be away from home, you know. And I know it's not good to complain because there's a lot of comics that would want to be where I am, but there's always that. Like, and where I am, there's other comics where I want to be, but that's good. That's good that you always have goals and you always want to be moving up and things like that. And I don't mean to complain. It's great. I'm very thankful to the club that books me. I'm very thankful to earn a living as an artist doing what I've, dedicated so much of my life to doing and sacrificed so much. So I can't complain in that aspect, but 7 days is a long time and it really starts to get to you. And I was just coming from Memphis. I went from Memphis to Vegas. So I was gone 11 days and, I miss my wife. I miss my dog. I miss being home. I miss eating healthier, home cooked meals, the weather. I'm a fucking Cali kid, man. I like when I come back, it's June gloom over here in California, which I love. I love the overcast weather, I like the cold weather, but the hot weather doesn't really bother me that much anymore either, as long as I can go out and do stuff. I'm just a Cali kid, but 7 days in Vegas, you can either not go outside because it's 100 and, whatever. And then if you don't go outside, you're stuck in a casino for fucking 7 days, and that gets to you too. It really fucked up my sleep, even though it's on the same time zone. You lose track of what day it is. You lose track of what time it is. You go do a show, 8 o'clock show, you're done by 10, and you're all wired up and energetic from doing the show, and you're not sleepy, ready to go to bed, and you're in a casino. So you don't really pay attention to what time it is because the comics are out, the people are out drinking still. So you just keep drinking, you keep the party going. By the time I go back to my room, I'm like, oh, geez, it's 3 a.m. Now I'm sleeping until 10. I did pretty okay though. I didn't obsessively drink or anything like that. I didn't drink before any of my shows. I kept a clear head the whole time, and I worked out almost every day. I think I was there 7 days. I worked out 4 days at the gym, and I did get to go out a little bit. I went out, went for a ride and checked out some shops and stuff. I went and saw some movie memorabilia shop. I went. To me, there's some cool stuff like off the strip. I don't like that commercial shit on the strip, walk around with fucking tourists in their flip-flops, looking at the fucking fountains. And I don't need that fucking shit in my life. I like the off the strip little shops. They have, I went and checked out the sports memorabilia store. I bought some collectible cards. I'm actually very close to the Stratosphere is like the Arts District, which I actually like hanging out down there. You go down and my favorite breakfast spot is there, Makers and Finders, and right next to it's like all these thrift shops and stuff like that. So, I like going in there looking at old clothes and shit like that, buying some things. And it was good to get out of the hotel. It was good to get out of the casino. Otherwise, you'll lose your mind. But it's just a long ass week. So, you're doing 7 shows, and at about like show 2 or 3, I realized that these audiences are not getting certain ones of my jokes, or maybe they're getting it, it's just not considered funny to them. Like, if you guys know me, I don't tend to lean towards the easy jokes, the cheesy stuff, hacky stuff. I do have some stuff that I would say is like universal. It's like cheesy, maybe you can call it easy jokes. I do have some stuff that gets big laughs. You can go anywhere with it and it'll work. But then most of my stuff are like, I strive on my writing. I'm a writer. It shows in my stand-up, my writing structure, and just making a funny bit smart, or making a smart thought funny. Those two things are like brilliant to me. And that's the thing, it's one thing to take, how do I take something that really happened to me and make it funny? How do I take something that really happened to me, make it funny, and make it smart? Or how do I take an idea, a really smart idea, and make it funny? And the words in the order that they're in can really mess up the structure. And I'm all about that world, and by show like 2 or 3, I was realizing that like 2 or 3 of my new bits were not hitting as hard. And I just think that the audience wants those easy jokes. I'm not trying to say like people in Vegas are dumb, because the people at the shows are not from Vegas. When you go to Vegas, you're there on vacation. The people at the shows are from everywhere, but they're in a casino, not the most expensive casino. They either lost some money gambling, they're thinking about going and spending the money they won, they're drinking, they came to party and go to strip clubs, whatever the fuck. If you hit them with some smart stuff, they weren't like falling over their chairs with it. Now, the bits that I'm talking about are like my newest stuff. And as an artist, your newest stuff is your favorite stuff because it's exciting. You're new telling it, you're still learning it, and you're all excited about this new brilliant bit and this really smart, point of view on it, and you're really excited to do those bits. But the audience in Vegas, they just like, hit us with the fucking, the heavy hitters, the fucking, I want to fall out of my chair laughing, super relatable type stuff. And, you can't get discouraged, because I just came from Memphis, where that stuff that I had just like been really excited about was killing. Stuff that I'm really proud of right now. Smart bits were killing. So, I didn't get discouraged at all. I just knew, all right, why do I keep trying? This is the 3rd show this week. But why do I keep trying to push that bit on them? And to tell you the other thing is, I was trying to get a video of it. That's another issue that a lot of performers are having right now, is like, we're all chasing that clip because of TikTok and Instagram. Everybody wants to throw this, a clip up on the Instagram. And I'm guilty of it. But I mean, I've noticed that it's a lot of crowd work. A lot of comics throw crowd work up because they don't want to burn their material on the internet. But it's just like so much crowd work. Stand-up's doing crowd work every time you open Instagram. And we've had episodes in the past where I thought that was a problem. But also, another problem it is as an artist, now you're chasing that clip. Like, you're just dying to get a great crowd work clip. So, whether you're the headliner or not, it's even worse if you're not the headliner. You're opening for somebody and you're just doing crowd work. That's not good for the headliner to come out to a crowd that's just been hearing the ear beating of crowd work. It's, what do you do for a living? How long you guys been married? Blah, 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 blah. It's not exactly, it's not exactly, really setting up the room for the headliner, and that's your job. But anyway, back to me. Is that now I was chasing this clip, not for crowd work, for this one bit that I really like. I really like the way it's written. I really think it's smart, and I really think it's funny, and it's new for me. I'm excited about it, and I wanted to get the clip so I could put it on Instagram. And I kept doing it every night. Now, mind you, I'm having great sets every night. But every time I got to that one, which is towards the back end of my set, it was not landing. I mean, they had a good time, but it wasn't as strong laughs as the other stuff. Maybe it's the fact that I'm only doing 17 to 20 minutes and I have more time with them to get to it, and now I'm only doing 20. If you're headlining, you have more time to get to it, but now I'm only doing 20, so now I'm hitting him with it when I haven't built it up. I don't know, maybe it's that, but honestly, I just think it was the crowds in Vegas. They didn't want to hear that shit, and it took by the 3rd show, I'm like, why am I still trying to do this same exact fucking bit just to get this video? And and even if I get the video, they're not liking it. It's not going to get the reaction that I want, because it's not their jam. So I decided to not try it anymore the rest of the week. And also, which was a good opportunity for me to do other bits that I haven't been doing. I brought back some old stuff. I brought back some stuff I don't do that much, which is good for the club and the other comics to see that, like, okay, he's got more than just this 20 minutes he's been doing every night. A couple of nights I ended on different closers. I had different jokes in the middle. So it was a good thing that I was able to see that early on, catch it, and go like, all right, stop chasing this clip just to get a clip, and just, I'm going to give this audience what they want and get more material out. And that's what I did. And the shows were going great. Regardless, the shows were going great. It was just me personally that's not hitting for the way I want it to hit, especially for a video. So all the shows were good. And And then I think it was Friday night was the one that I had my least favorite set of the week, and probably honestly, in my opinion, my worst set of the fucking year. And I'll tell you why. And it was because Friday night there was a guest spot. All right, so this club, I'm still not past that. They're having me feature still, so I'm doing 20. The headliner's doing like 40 or something like that. The MC does like 8 to 10. But on Friday night, there's a guest spot. They're like, oh, this guy's gonna go up and do like 8 minutes, or whatever, and that's fine with me. I don't give a shit. It's not I'm not headlining. They can give guest spots whoever they want to give guest spots to, and great for the comedians to get some stage time. Normally I don't give a shit. But this guy went up and had a lot of similar bits to mine. I'm not saying he stole it from me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that sometimes that just, similar topics, but pretty too specific, where we were even referencing the same company names in our examples and things like that. And I heard the guy did a airline joke. So I thought to myself, okay, I've been opening with the airline joke. I just won't open with it tonight. That's all I heard, is that he did an airline joke. It wasn't until after that people told me he literally referenced the same airline as you. And I didn't even hear that part. So, but I did hear that he was doing airline stuff. So I go, I'm just not going to open with it. I'm going to open with something else. I open with something else, which right away I'm in my head now, because now my order was all thrown up. For a guy like me that's so structured, the last minute like that, switching things up, it didn't affect me, but it was my mind having fear that it would affect me. It was me thinking to myself, I'm going to, I'm going to mess something up. And at that point, I was just phoning it in. I was like literally thinking all these thoughts in my mind, like, while I was talking. So I was just like on autopilot. And not only that, I didn't even know the next joke I was going to do after the joke I was currently doing. And that's what I was thinking about in my head. Like, what am I going to, my mouth is moving doing the bit, but I'm just thinking like, what comes next after this? What can I do? Because I switched up my order now. And then I was just hating the fact that I was in my head and I couldn't shake it off. And so then I went and did the airline bit anyway. I mean, it happens, you guys. I work with Jimmy Schubert a lot. He also opens with an airline bit sometimes. And when I was working with him in San Diego, he asked me, did you open with the airline bit? And I said, yeah. He goes, okay, I just won't do it. I go, do you not want me to do it? And he goes, no, do whatever the fuck you want. I just move it later in my set. So I'm like, yeah, Schubert's got enough fucking material to eat. All of his shit's crushers. And that's what I decided I was going to do. But I didn't know he was like that specific to my bit. So I saved it for later, ended up going and doing it anyway. And it still worked. The audience was still laughing, which was crazy to me. And at the time, I didn't even know how specific ours or how similar our bits were. But it was just me being in my head, and it really messed me up. So I'm here to pass on some knowledge to you guys, which is number one. Obviously, you never want to be in your head. It's a big no-no. If you're thinking, that means that your mouth is on autopilot, just spitting out the jokes that you've already been saying. You're there for a week. I've been doing the show every night. I know it by heart anyway. I know the tunes and the rhythm. But if you're in your head and you're thinking while you're doing that, that's a big no-no. You got to be in the moment. You're a fucking performer. You're an artist. Stop phoning it in. Don't be on autopilot. And I hated the fact that I was doing that. And sometimes I can think afterwards, oh man, I was in my head. Which I did this time, but I was also thinking it while I was on stage. I was hating the fact that I was doing that, and so it was just messing up my head so much. And so that's something I pass on to any artists out there listening. Another thing is, if you're a comedian, you should listen to the guy before you. Some people say always listen to the guy before you because you don't want to do similar stuff, and that I agree with. But sometimes they also say don't listen to the guy before you because it gets in your head or whatever. But no, you're supposed to listen to the guy before you because you have to match the room. If you have to reset the room. If they bomb, you got to reset the room, and you know how to go out there and fucking get them. If they crush, like if they murder and have a really good set, you got to know how to come out and reset the room, either by riding their wave or reset it, or just listening that somebody talked about something that you're about to go and talk about, which is why I don't do a lot of topical stuff, but we just happen to have similar bits, and it fucked with me. And then when I got off stage, I was so mad at myself. It fucked with me. I was mad that it fucked with me. I was mad that I was in my head. I was mad that like a guest spot, I'm supposed to be a fucking headliner. I'm all mad that this club hasn't passed me as a headliner yet. And I'm like, how am I supposed to justify this feeling of like, a guest set comic threw off my whole game? That's not supposed to happen to me. So I was very, very mad at myself. The next night, Saturday night, there was a guest set, different guy though. Didn't matter to me because I was still gonna fucking give it my all and stop being in my head anyway. But I did listen to the comic. They weren't doing anything similar but like me, but they were having a very good set. That doesn't bother me. I don't mind following guys that are crushing because I can go up there and fucking crush it. But it just didn't matter to me that night. I learned my lesson from the first night. I was ready to go up there and beat him over the head. And my buddy Brett Ernst, who's a very nice man, nice established comic, successful comic, was in the room. Him and I were supposed to go hang out afterwards. My wife had flown in to meet me for the weekend, so I got to see her because we haven't seen each other in a long time. So she was in the room, and all of this, if you apply my thoughts from the night before, all of this should have bothered me. All of this should have been the reasons that I'm in my head. They're watching me. They're judging me. I don't like people I know in the crowd, or especially my colleagues who I look up to, and they never seen me before. And I just went out there and I just said, I don't give a fuck. I'm redeeming myself. I'm going to beat him over the fucking head, and I'm not even going to let him breathe. As a stand-up comic, if you breathe as a performer, if you breathe in the wrong place, it can mess up the timing of your joke. Sometimes you have to let the audience breathe. Sometimes you got to let them, they're laughing, and you got to let them catch up a little bit before you start the next bit. I was not even doing that this set. I'm like, I went up there with I don't give a fuck attitude, and I was just beating him over the head. I was not letting them breathe. I'm just hitting them with a bit. They're in the middle of laughing, and I just was going right into the next one. Boom, 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 but just hammering it away. Murderous, explosive material. The only thing that would have made me happier about it is if it was with the material that I wanted to do. But it wasn't the new stuff that I wanted to do. It was, stuff that is old and currently in my set that's universally fucking accepted, and just boom, 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 just hammering him over the head. Got off stage and I just fucking redeemed myself. I felt great. I said to the comic when I got off stage, I said, I redeemed myself from last night. He says, bro, you didn't have a bad set last night. You just had a similar joke as the other guy that still crushed anyway. And it's all true. But just a little lesson here. Watch the guy before you. And don't be in your head. And sometimes you gotta not let those motherfuckers breathe. Don't even let them think. Just fucking attack them, And that's what I did. And it wasn't my favorite set of the weekend, but it was my favorite night of the weekend and probably the most powerful set I had of the whole week. And that's it. That's my Vegas story. Sunday I went up and I had a lot of fun in the Sunday show. I was actually leaving that night. I was gonna do my show, get in the car. My car was already packed with my luggage, and just drive home that night. And that's what I did. But Sunday was a fun show. I was surprised for a Sunday. A lot of people in the crowd, a lot of people with energy, ready to have fun. I did have a problem with the lady in the front row that was constantly talking and talking back and stepping on all of my punchlines and talking. But that came from the host who was doing crowd work and then doing crowd work with them. See, that's a problem. Sometimes it's good for a host to do a crowd work. If you're hosting, you don't go right into material. You go into, let me, ease into, hey, welcome, guys. Some light crowd work, but not like honing in on specific people. Because now what you're doing is you've opened the floodgates that person feels like they can talk during a show. And that this is a fucking rhetorical show and a two-way conversation. It's not. You get guys like me that are strictly material based, and I want to go up there and do my material. Now she's fucking talking the whole time. But that's the fucking lesson to guys. Why when you're opening for somebody, don't fucking do crowd work. If you're gonna fucking headline, do whatever the hell you want. It's your show, it's your audience, it's your fans. If you're opening for somebody, don't do fucking crowd work. It really kind of ruined the set. But honestly, it ruined the set for the audience. I still had a good time in that show, but I did notice that the people around them were having a great time and were really loving my material. And you can see in their faces every time the chick in the front spoke, their faces were like, oh, this bitch again. Like it was really ruining their time. But overall, it's been a crazy 11 days. I'm sorry I've been a long time gone from the Homeschool podcast, but here I am. Here's an episode for you. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope to see you if you're local. Like I said, this weekend I'm in Sherman Oaks. You can get the details on where, the time, and tickets on my website, homeschoolpod.com, agostinocomedian.com. I hope to see you guys at the end of the month in Phoenix, Arizona, June 22nd through the 25th. And don't forget to only look and save the world. Keep spreading that out there and keep coming back here where we document the journey only on Homeschooled Podcast. Peace.